This video is about two things, living things and acids and bases. What are living things made up of? Well, good thing is you're in biology class, and biology is the study of life. This is really what we'll be learning about all year. What makes up living things? What are living things? How do they work? Well, if you take anything, whether it's living or non-living, and cut it up to its smallest piece. So take that pencil and cut it in half, and cut it in half, and cut it in half, and cut it in half a billion times, you'll finally get to the smallest piece, which is called an atom or an element. So the smallest piece of matter in anything, whether it's living or non-living, is called an atom or an element. All of these elements are organized on a table. We're only going to look at a few of these elements. The one element that you have to be familiar with is carbon. All living things on Earth contain carbon. So yourself, your dog, the trees outside, the mushroom on the ground, all of those contain the element carbon. Carbon is very, very important. So a good question would be, how do you know if an object came from a living thing? Well, if it contains carbon, it must have been from something living. There are other elements that are also very important, and you should write down these elements as well. The first one is obviously carbon. Carbon is the most important element of all living things. Then there's hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. These are kind of in the order of importance. Carbon is definitely the most important of all of them, then hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. The way that I remember this is this acronym, CHNOPS, or CHNOPS. We're going to say this 1,000 times in class. CHNOPS. Carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur. These are the most common elements in all living things. If you take a bunch of elements and you put them together, you get molecules. If you take a bunch of molecules and you put them together, you get cells. If you take a bunch of cells and put them together, you get organs. I know that's gross. And if you take a bunch of organs and put them together, you get an organism. This is why we are talking about elements in biology, because we're studying organisms. Well, organisms are made of organs, which are made of cells, which are made of molecules, which are made of elements. And specifically, living things are made up of CHNOPS, CHNOPS, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur. Memorize it. The second thing we're talking about in this video are acids and bases. This is first a picture of water, and water is the most important molecule on Earth for a variety of reasons. But what we're talking about today is whether water is an acid or a base. The answer is neither. Water is neutral. Neutral means in the middle. It's not strong on one side or strong on the other side. It's right in the middle. There's something called a pH scale, which is how scientists measure whether something is an acid or a base. Water is neither an acid nor a base. It is right in the middle. See in the middle, there's this number 7, it's green, and it says neutral. That's what water is. So you could drink it, it's not acidic, it won't hurt you, and it won't hurt you because it's a base. It's in the middle, it's neutral. Acids, on the other hand, have a pH of 1 to 6, so they have a low pH number. A really strong acid would be close to numbers 1 or 2, and a kind of weak acid would be close to numbers 5 or 6. Neutral, like I said before, is in the middle at 7, and bases are between 8 and 14. So a strong base would be around 13 or 14, and a weak base would be 8 or 9. Acids, again, are between 1 and 6 on the pH scale. Examples of acids would be battery acid and stomach acid are really strong acids. Lemon juice and soda are kind of middle of the road acids, and vinegar and acid rain are weak acids. Neutral would be water. That's the best example of neutral. But also our blood is pretty much neutral as well. Bases are 8 to 14 on the pH scale. Some examples of weak bases would be toothpaste and baking soda. And strong bases would be milk of magnesia, which is what you take if you have too much stomach acid, and bleach. That's it for the video. Write down any questions you have and ask me in class.